There we go. We're recording. Need a few seconds for it to go
I'll
live on
intro us, brother.
Facebook and YouTube.
I'll intro us.
Okay. Feel free. I think we're live.
Yo, yo, peace and plenty, peace and power, y'all. Waiting for y'all to tune in. Get on board with us. Get on this train. We're moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we got one. We got community. We got 3 people. So between the 2 of us and the 1 person watching, we got 3 people. We got community. You can share that. You know, make sure you share the live stream, share the feed on Facebook and on YouTube. This is Veterans for Peace Stand Down Live. This is September 30th. I guess we're in our 3rd month right now. It's been a wild time here in America. We thank you for tuning in. We ask you to share this, share this conversation, share this, all right? We are here calling for our active duty military, our National Guard, our police officers to look at themselves, to examine why they enlisted, to examine why they signed up, why they took the job that they took, to defend an ideal in this country that has not been held up, right? The show is called Stand Down Live because we don't want our National Guard to take up arms against people observing their First Amendment rights. We have a right in this country to peacefully protest. We have a right in this country to organize. This show was started in response to the nationwide and international uprising for Black lives, in response to the killings of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, so many others, Ahmaud Arbery, Emmett Till, it goes on and on, Sandra Bland, it goes down through the ages. So we recognize that this show is about bringing a voice to the voiceless, a voice to the people who have been marginalized and quieted for too long, a voice to the people who have been told what you're saying is outlandish, a voice to the people who have been told that just wait, it will come, it is coming, be patient. Well, the time has come and passed and come and passed and come and passed again, and we are here. We are here now. We are raising up our voices and we are standing in solidarity with movements around the world for justice and asking and demanding our peace. We are making our voices heard. We are creating a platform for other people to come up and share their stories, share their truths. So we thank you for being in the chat room today. We thank you for sharing this. I've just seen that chat grow from 17 people to 56 people in just a couple of minutes. So if we could all share that again and grow this conversation. What we're going to have today is a conversation between myself and my co-host, Mike James. Our co-host, Natasha, will be here next week. And our guest for today, Mike Hasty, will be on in a few weeks. So I would say I dropped the ball. I talked with our brother a few days ago, and I thought all was good, but I didn't follow up with the talk, and I should have called again just to make sure, and we should have had a call yesterday. Communication is king, right? Communication is key. Let's have a mindfulness moment. Let's be mindful with ourselves, and let's be sure that we are communicating clearly and honestly and openly with the people around us, with the people in our lives, with the people we're supposed to make meetings with, right? If somebody reaches out to us and we're supposed to get back, let's get back. If we say we're going to get back, let's get back to them. You know, let's communicate clearly, honestly, and openly. Let's be impeccable with our speech. I've been on the 4 agreements a lot lately, so you might hear me shouting that out in some ways. And I thank you for growing the community. Again, we're up at 67 people. This is beautiful. So we are here on occupied land. These United States are occupied land. We know that. This is stolen land, and we are here to address that through all of our conversations as well. And we also know that the billionaire class, the billionaire class that we are working under has made a lot of money during COVID-19. So maybe we'll talk about that today. Primarily, I think I want to get at Mike James and ask him about this injustice hanging around with the Breonna Taylor case and all the things that have continued to be uncovered in the Breonna Taylor case over the weekend. How last week There were no charges made against the officers for the killing of Breonna Taylor. The only charge filed was reckless endangerment, shooting into the neighbor's house. These were plainclothes officers.
Yeah, that's right. And initially,
Mike.
Yeah, initially it's outrageous. There were no videos, right, in the beginning. That there was no videos at all. It turns out that that there was actually a video obtained by Vice News recently, and then not only the one video of the actual incident happening, but after it happening, something like 40 videos that were completely hidden from the public of responding officers. So, you know, yes, that's absolutely outrageous. And what really just really kicks you in the teeth is the fact that there was a systematic cover-up, that all these cops, 40, 50, cops all in these different police districts, they were all covering up the fact that they knew that all these videos existed. It's part of the infrastructure or the superstructure of the police system, that they're all willing to cover up for each other under any condition, no matter what, even when innocent people were massacred in their own home. Totally outrageous, total injustice. The people absolutely need to be taking the fight to the streets. And we have to shout out and connect to our veteran cadre and make absolutely certain that we, the veterans, the individuals who fought for empire, who benefit from the actual beneficiaries of empire, that we lead from the front, that we take the fight to the bourgeoisie, as it were, as the police, the ruling class, the people who are willing to cover up murder. We need to lead by example and not be complacent, and to replace the depression and the complacency that comes with this kind of absolute horror show of a government that we're subjected to. We take that depression and complacency and we turn it into discipline. We turn it into passion and fire, and let these injustices fuel us. And that's why we're here. That's why we're on the show. That's why I'm so grateful to be able to speak to everyone that's tuned in right now. Please leave some comments and questions today. We were planning on having a guest. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. So we'd like to be able to interact with our guests a little bit more today. So please shout out.
These are, I like you say we turn the anger into passion, right there on that, if you're feeling distraught or you're feeling overwhelmed by all the things that are happening in the world, you turn that into action, right? You turn that anger into positive passion, right? And action. You follow it up with action, and that empowers you, right? That's like it's like saying affirmations. So doing the good work inspires you to continue doing more, Yeah,
that's right.
I've been loving all of the online trainings I've been seeing, brother. Lots of workshopping, lots of trainings, lots of organizations are out here doing trainings for people in real world applications now that we're all online at home, and things are free, and that's beautiful, So yes, like you said, please share in the comments. If you have something that we need to share with the larger community, share that in the comments. We got somebody in the chat room who lives in Breonna's hometown, and it's just like the feeling is palpable, right? She's like, this is Amanda Brunzel says, this is I live in the same town as her family, and this is bullshit. So it's like you can tell people are.
It can happen to anybody. It can happen to you. Absolutely. So as far as taking direct action, we're told by the media, we're told by our government that voting is kind of the end all be all, that we're going to fix this by voting, which is fine. I don't want to vote shame anyone. If people want to go out and vote for whoever they think is going to create better economic and material conditions for the poor and the working class and the disenfranchised, figure out who that person is and go out and exercise your right to vote, because people did fight and die for that privilege. But at the same time, that's just a tiny fraction of political expression and the fight for justice. People need to absolutely be, you need to be connecting with your neighbors. You need to be having meaningful political conversations with your friends and your family. You need to be, go out to places where people are suffering, where there are homeless people, where there are starving people, where there are people being thrown out of their homes. Millions of people have been thrown out of their homes in the last several months. If it wasn't from the economic crisis from COVID, then from the wildfires in California, we are having the country is absolutely melting down. We're entering, the next few months are going to be increasingly chaotic. So yes, go out and vote, but realize that's 1% of an effective political strategy to changing this country fundamentally. So feed people, help people fight their landlords, people who are being thrown out on the streets. I know we have several people in VFP and different anti-war veteran organizations who are being thrown out of their apartments or have been thrown out. Please reach out to them, build networks, find lawyers, connect people to lawyers who can fight this effectively. So yeah, I'm really rambling there, but yeah.
Whatever your passion is, right? In my city, we have people who are, there's by the strip mall and at the bridge, at the interchange on these two major exchanges, there's always people around who I can find who need food, who need a handout, who need sneakers. And I'm sure any city that we're talking to, wherever people are, that they know that in their city. They know those centers. They know where the people are who aren't even being reached by the organizations. You see them, and most of these people are just normal, wonderful people, just down on their luck and maybe down on it for a long time, or maybe made choices to be outside and are outside, but they're humans and they could use a conversation. They could use a hot meal. They could really use, that $7 in your pocket that you don't know what you're going to do with. That goes a long way to other people. Or those shoes that you're about to throw out and those clothes that you're about to throw out, they can go to people. They don't have to just go into the garbage, into a landfill,
Yeah.
So this is really necessary to really connect with your local community. It's the law of reciprocity. We can receive, as much as we give. So if we all change the ways we're thinking, then our world will change as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to be done.
There's a lot of work to be done. We had a debate last night. I know you didn't watch the debate.
No.
I usually don't watch these things. I usually don't get sucked into them because I know it's just rhetoric anyway. But I watched last night. I was curious as to what was going to happen, and so I was. I'm happy I was witness to the inability of the current president to condemn right-wing groups, to condemn fascism, Proud Boys. He actually called them. He gave them a shout, if anything, when asked if he would condemn.
He told them to stand by. Wait for orders.
He said, stand back, stand by.
Yeah,
and then in the very next breath, I would do something about Antifa, he says, right. And pushes back against the moderator who's saying that's just an idea, and pushes back and urges extremists, right-wing extremists, which we know are the most violent group in the country statistically, to go to the polls and be poll watchers of all people. So now we need as if anybody wants or needs armed militia at the polls, if that's going to make people feel comfortable.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's basically the biggest takeaway from the entire debate. Whether or not Biden, I didn't watch the debate because it's just self-harm to me. That's just masochism. I can't sit through it. God. It's just two absolute buffoons just defending imperialism and oppression of poor people. But Yeah, I mean, you
So,
know, I watched different media people and their takes on it.
you know,
And
Mike, I gotta say, I watched it. I watched it firsthand. I watched it on democracynow.org. So there was no commentary. There was no, it was really just the back of Chris Wallace's head. I think he was the moderator, right? Chris Wallace. And so I saw Trump and Biden. And for the first 10, 15 minutes, Biden was falling into Trump's trap of argue with me. Let's make this into you know, a crap show, right? He was like interrupting constantly, and he did throughout the whole 90 minutes. But about after 10, 15 minutes, Biden realized what was happening and stopped, and he reined it in. And then from then on, his only comments were little comments about how stupid this was. He called him a clown one time and told him to shut up. But he was really on point. Surprising to me, he was on point about not getting into the argument, because Biden likes to argue too. We've all seen him argue on the campaign trail, but he didn't do it. And I was really impressed. And even the moderator also told Trump, you have been interrupting constantly. So it's really the media. The media is really fomenting the confusion. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones stirring up the waves of confusion, because they're right after the show. I watched this. I like to watch this LA Times thing on YouTube where they break down who people are voting for. They get a bunch of undecided voters and have them talk. And it seemed like most people on this panel, this undecided Zoom chat, were diving into that as well. I could tell that they all watched on like Fox or MSNBC or CNN, because they were saying the same things. They were like, well, I couldn't tell what either one of them was talking about. And it was just a shit show. But it wasn't. It really wasn't. Go back and watch the debate on Democracy Now! And you'll see Biden clearly had some strong talking points. He was I mean, he's a little confused too, but he was clearly talking about the Green New Deal. He's clearly been coached by some really intelligent people lately, because his debate skills were on point. He was talking about real world things, and he had good answers for the environment, talking about cleaning the environment by 2035, like making all federal vehicles green. And he was totally on the Green New Deal. He was totally on the side of justice, peace, and Black Lives Matter. He didn't fall into Trump's trap and say law and order. I think he said it one time, but only in the sense so that he could say it needs to be community based. It needs to support communities. It was very interesting to watch. You know, of course, I wish somebody else was up there. You could see his sticker in the background. You know what I'm saying? Who I wish was up there, but it's all good. I don't endorse anybody. I just I do recommend voting and being active in your local politics and your local community.
Well, that's fair, and that's heartening to know that Biden didn't just, you know, shit his pants on TV like it has happened recently. But yeah, I mean, that's cool. That's good. Who knows? Maybe he'll win. I don't know. It's tough.
We got the comment room. Zach Wood says Biden said he wanted nothing to do with the Green New Deal. Yeah, he said that in word, but the words he was speaking were of the Green New Deal. So it's true that he did say that. Or I don't even know if it's true that he said that last night, but the words he was talking about, the actions were the Green New Deal.
Yeah, we know that presidents, when they win, they'll do whatever, you know, people pay them to do. So, you know, he can make.
We wouldn't have to be here.
Yeah.
If presidents were doing what the people wanted, right? Yeah. Not what private interests wanted, then we wouldn't have a need for this show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Like, so you had the GI rights hotline up there earlier, and you know, that's really probably the biggest need for this show, is for our active duty military to know that there are people that they can call, and there's people that you can email if you need help, if you need help with your rights and getting out, or just being in and help with your rights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
There's a
I think
hotline.
whoever wins the election, certainly the military is going to continue to grow. Climate change is going to continue to sow absolute chaos across the world, and the American empire will continue to try and exploit that crisis. Wherever people are in the most desperate need, the military is sure to go in and try and steal land, overthrow governments, install dictatorships, and steal resources and exploit labor. So if you're still in the military, don't hold out. I wouldn't hold out hope that if Biden becomes president, that things will get better, because, I joined the military. My personal experience is that I joined the military in 2008, and I remember being fairly certain that Obama was going to win the election, and then he did, and then he created surges in both Iraq and in Afghanistan, and I ended up in southern Iraq in 120-degree weather with dust storms and burning depleted uranium pits. So it's not going to get better. It's certain to get worse before it gets better. If you're in the military now, if in the National Guard, do not obey orders. Do not have any optimistic hope that anything is going to get better. You should be talking to a lawyer. You should be planning to get out now. Often, in many cases, it's possible to get out of the military even with an honorable discharge if you plan it appropriately and act intelligently. Talk to a lawyer who can help you out. We need to do a lot of work. We need to, with veterans in the VA, one of the things that is one of the goals of VFP and About Face and other veteran orgs is to make moral injury an appropriate, or a reason to get out of the military, the same way that PTSD might be. When World War II veterans came home, they didn't have a thing called PTSD, but they were all suffering from it. Over time, that changed, and now we do have PTSD. And I think in the future, if we continue to struggle and stand up against the military, we'll be able to get moral injury as a qualifying condition, because going and creating economic disasters and killing people will cause you moral injury. So
even not being in the front lines and causing the economic disaster, just supporting, being a support person in these in this imperial system creates moral injury.
Yeah, if you're driving a forklift in California and you're wearing a U.S. military uniform, and you're in the National Guard or something, you're still you're helping the machine just grind people up.
And you are being affected by it. I've been affected by it. I was not a combat veteran, but I was certainly affected by the military industrial complex. And it took a long time, and I'm still healing. It took a long time to heal, and I'm still healing. The things I've seen in Cuba, the things in Okinawa, really Cuba, and the psychological training in boot camp. So I know I'm not the only one with that story. And I think this might be a good time to ask you, Mike, a combat veteran, a photographer, if you have some photography that you'd like to share, some combat photography. Don't shy away from pulling on people's heartstrings. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because people need to see what you saw and try to feel it. So, folks should share this page and share this right now. Just hit share if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. And we thank you for the comments. I see y'all are live in the comment section, going back and forth. It's beautiful. Just know that this is a safe space, and people are fatigued and people are triggered. So we are about to show some images that might trigger you. We're about to show some images that might sit with you for a while. If that's something you don't want to see, then you should probably turn it off and just listen to the commentary, turn off the screen. Or if you you're not going to be affected in that way.
Yeah.
So I would say take me off the screen if you want, and or make us really small. I don't know how you can do that, but
Yeah.
it should be.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So I was a photographer. I worked in a public affairs capacity. I was in the Navy, and when I talk about Obama's surges to Iraq and Afghanistan, well, they needed so many troops that they didn't have enough. They didn't have enough soldiers, Army soldiers, to be able to deploy. So what they did is they would pull from the Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force to supplement Army units on the ground. And so that's what I ended up doing. And my first deployment, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to share my screen real quick. And then Miles probably want to hit the solo layout. Actually, I'll go ahead and do it now. I'm going to hit the solo layout button. I'm going to share my screen. It's going to go wild. Okay. All right. Don't panic.
So what y'all are seeing here is the matrix.
Yeah, this
there into the center.
We've broken into
we
the,
can all
man,
find
my screen is really acting
we
strange.
can all find Neo. We can all realize that we are the
Golly, what is going on? Hold on, let me turn the share screen off. I don't know why my
people a chance. We didn't go down the wormhole yet.
We didn't go down the wormhole.
Yeah, we had to choose the red pill, bro. Come on, man.
It won't fix itself. What? My computer has never acted like this before. Hold on. Okay, I'm going like this.
Oh,
okay.
we got some laughter. Nice.
All right, let me try this again. I think I'm ready this time.
Cool.
Share screen. This one. Share. Boom. Okay. There we go. Okay, we could probably take down the GI rights hotline. Can you do that, Miles? Or not? Either way. Okay.
Yeah, I can try.
All right. If you go into brands in the tab, you can take it down. All right. So what's up here right now? Let's see. We were talking about Iraq. Let's go to Iraq. So my Navy squadron deployed to Iraq in 2009. We flew VP. The squadron's name was VP-40. We flew the P-3 Orion, which was a surveillance plane that was severely dated. I'm pretty sure it's been outphased now, except maybe in learning schools or something. But these are basically what I did was, because I was working in public affairs capacity, the photos that I was able to release had to be sanitized and everything. So all these photos are sanitized and unclassified, and basically they just kind of depict the living conditions in southern Iraq at Ali Air Base in 2009. We basically spent all our time on the air base, and we had a unit of maybe about maybe 100 people, maybe more, 150 people. It's been so long I can't remember. But we had a lot of maintainers that worked on these, 30-year-old planes. We had a lot of dust storms. This is the desert. This land we had to be careful to not step on, because there were bombs and mines in this dirt that were undiscovered, and we found many mines while we were there. So, my effort then while I was in the Navy is I had a lot of free time. And so what I would do is I would just go in and try and document what was going on and try and get pictures of people. And I think part of the value of this is to recognize that these people in the military is that, we're all just young and brainwashed. And everybody there thinks that, they're doing the right thing, that they're out here supporting a viable mission and trying to provide freedom and democracy to the Iraqi people. But really what's happening is that we're sowing economic and environmental cataclysm across the Middle East, and we're using violence and coercion to be able to extract oil, essentially, and to have control across that part of the world. Miles, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here, Mike. Okay, you say we're sowing the seeds of economic cataclysm.
Yeah.
Um, how is that? Like, how would like would you do you want me to like how are we
Well, in
so
general, yeah, I mean, in general, Saddam Hussein at the end of his reign, first of all, Saddam Hussein he was a golden boy for the CIA, and he was installed in Iraq as a dictator by the United States, and he was the golden boy, and he was well loved by the CIA and the government in general, and and so he went about killing a lot of people and massacring people to control the country, for better or worse, or for worse, obviously. And later on, in his rules, he tried to nationalize the
don't
oil
scroll
industry.
past that. I want to talk about that.
Yeah, these are the burn pits, just endless trash dumps there in southern Iraq. This
What do
is
you mean this is US trash?
This is US trash. This is going back 30 years, 30, 40 years probably.
So this
Um,
is the base. This is how the base is dumping its garbage.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, this is where you'll find the depleted uranium rounds, unexploded ordnance, all kinds of munitions, tanks, personnel carriers, all kinds of asbestos and horrible chemicals, I don't even know about. They were in there. This was forbidden. We weren't allowed to go out here, but sometimes you had to drive around the airfield to get to a certain different place on the airfield, and so we were, unruly, and we would go out and take
So that
pictures and
picture
shit.
clearly slipped through. You getting this picture out is like that.
Well, I
You,
wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that. I mean, this isn't classified. This isn't dangerous. I mean, it just is what it is,
but
And
this is so. I was in Okinawa, what 3 years ago now, and
yeah,
it, I forget the area that a couple of our colleagues went to. But after we left, two of our colleagues went hiking, and discovered, I think, like 50 pounds or something. It was like two trash bags full of discarded waste, and
yeah,
there was plenty more. This was
yeah,
um,
yeah.
this was how the Marines were discarding their garbage. They were just throwing it in the woods,
Yeah, I
which
mean, if we thought about the amount of trash that the average US aircraft carrier throws overboard every single day, every minute, you know, we none of us would be able to sleep at night. And we have a lot of aircraft carriers and a lot of ships all across the world. And we know that the United States military is the largest burner of fossil fuels in the world, more than any country, more than China.
speak on it.
It's the biggest polluter in the world. And the biggest polluter, biggest burner of fossil fuels. So, I mean, this is a piss in the ocean of all the. But at night there would be black clouds of smoke over Iraq. So, and it was just awful. We breathed this stuff every night, every day, every night, and it's kind of just a matter of time until the huge percentage of these people come down with throat and lung cancer, including
Well,
myself. And
you
it's
think about. I hope not, brother. And yeah,
yeah.
our our thoughts are powerful. Thoughts and beliefs, they're vibrations as well. They're powerful. We think about that one base and dumping that garbage. And so because it was perhaps a country where they can get away with it, like they're not doing that. Bases in Germany aren't doing that, right?
No.
But you can imagine that bases in any country that has low regulation, right, or weak regulations on sanitary on trash removal. The U.S. military would most likely be doing this, or anywhere where they could get away with
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've thought about it often that, Iraq, because it's sparsely populated, it's not unpopulated. The Marsh Arabs lived there for thousands of years. Certainly, native and
it.
indigenous people live there, but because it's sparsely populated and it's a desert, it's easy to just get away with war crimes. It's a place to go to play war games and get away with war crimes and do what you want. And the military can just kind of, just push it under the rug really easily. But real quick, I'd like to go ahead and take us over to my other deployment while we're here. We're at 5:35, and we'll scroll through this real quick. I'll talk about this. So when I deployed to Afghanistan in 2011, this was a case where the Army didn't have enough public affairs people. They were short on personnel. So they asked the Navy to supplement their public affairs or propaganda efforts. And so I actually separated from the Navy, went through an Army infantry school in South Carolina, and then essentially kind of joined the Army, or at least a purple unit, and then deployed to Afghanistan as an individual augmentee, or IA. And I worked in the cadre of several generals while I was there, part of the nation building effort of the Afghan campaign. It was called NATO Training Mission Afghanistan, of which there were something like 40 coalition countries that were part of NATO. Countries that you would never guess, like Mongolia. Like for whatever reason, Mongolia had troops there in Afghanistan, and they're not even a member of NATO. They have no business like providing troops to support NATO, but there they were, and there I was. And so a lot of these pictures are these are Afghan troops. Almost all of these pictures are Afghan troops in training. So these are young men in boot camp going through artillery training. That's a rocket propelled grenade. Same case here. This artillery range was basically a giant dump full of tanks and you know, a lot of Soviet tanks from the 80s, and then lots of military, US military tanks and personnel carriers and refuse. And so I was there in a public affairs capacity, and my job was to tell the story of the US nation building effort. So for example, here you see, this is a British soldier, a British, I don't know what his rank is, probably an enlisted guy, teaching young Afghans in boot camp infantry training. So, and you know, a lot of these guys, you know, I got to highlight. So these guys come out of rural areas in Afghanistan. There's a very low percentage of literacy. From what I understood at that time, from what I remember, there was something like a 10% literacy rate. And on top of that, something like half of them, or maybe 30%, had some kind of heroin addiction. So these were young people escaping poverty who were brainwashed by US and, you know, NATO imperial propaganda, thinking that they were providing a service for their country, trying to escape poverty, trying to attain literacy. But, you know, again, they've been duped. This picture here is the actual chain of command that I worked for a time there. You can see in the front there, Canadian General Michael Day, who at the time when I worked there, he was a real interesting intellect and very charismatic person. And I enjoyed working for him and working in that cadre. But, you know, it is what it is. These are, you can see US Army enlisted people, British. The guy with the silly hat there is Australian. There's a Polish general next to him, and then I think a Brit. And then you have Italian Carabinieri in black here. Carabinieri means police. So these, I think with the Carabinieri we're just kind of like a National Guard situation in Italy, and they were there to train Afghan troops. These are the units. This is the actual public affairs office that I worked in, and we would go on regular truck convoys around the city. I worked as a truck driver and a truck commander, convoy commander at times. We would drive armored personnel or armored Chevy Suburbans and Toyota Land Cruisers around the city, which was highly dangerous, and our routes got pretty routinely attacked. And every time we made it back to base, we were extremely thankful. This picture here is young men applying to be either Afghan police or I believe army officers is probably likely, and they're taking a literacy test. So these are probably literate Afghans that are applying to be soldiers and officers, and they just set them out in the field, just bring them all in. You can see, you can get a idea of the scope here in this picture.
Oh,
yeah.
Big industry, hiring people for
yeah,
security services, hiring people for the
and this is all U.S. money. Yeah, absolutely. So all these people that are being paid, these are your tax dollars going to hire Afghan civilians
to work in law enforcement, to learn to lock people up, to kill, to shoot, to right.
That's
because
right. Yeah,
in a country that's war torn, and in a country that is devastated by poverty, right? Institutional structural poverty. We're investing money into policing. We're investing money into military, rather than like those people weren't lined up to be construction workers, to build, right? To build roads or highways or
absolutely. And let's not forget, the Taliban is essentially a CIA construction. During the 80s, when Ronald Reagan was, the Soviet Union had been asked to come and provide material support to the Afghan government in Kabul, in northern Afghanistan, and they were highly successful at it. They were building highways, building infrastructure, building the palaces and the government buildings, and creating lawyers and humanitarian support. And the United States, in order to try and undermine the Soviet Union, obviously they didn't want to see economic success in Afghanistan. They wanted to see it devastated so that they could try and control it. So that Ronald Reagan gave Taliban and religious extremists huge amounts of weapons. They gave him like the most sophisticated Stinger missiles to shoot down helicopters, tons of ordnance to blow up tanks and create chaos and sow chaos across the country. And the chaos and the country was fundamentally destabilized. And the United States created warlords. We created these tribal warlords across the country, while the Soviet Union was trying to bring, a modern civil government.
Now, what you're speaking about's been documented. It's been written about. This is all fact. This is not like something that you heard on YouTube, right? This is not like somebody's YouTube chat.
No, it's all written down. We have evidence to prove all of this. And here's a picture that'll make you think. So we destabilize the government. Then what we do is we sow 20 years of war. We've been at war in Afghanistan for at least 20 years. When none of that had to be done. The country was moving towards progress. They were having some kind of economic stability, and the people ultimately lose out, and the children lose out. And there are orphanages all over Afghanistan. They are everywhere. I mean, these young people, all of these children at the time were either orphans because they had lost parents, or because the parents couldn't provide any kind of economic or any kind of food stability for these kids. So they sent them all to Kabul, or these kids escaped or somehow made it to Kabul. And here they are. And, we are there in this totally fake capacity, just trying to provide, charity to these people, instead of actually providing them national sovereignty and control over their own resources and control over their own government.
Yeah, I've always hated food aid, dropping bags of food to people, and delivering water to people need water and people need food. But if you want to help people build roads, if you want to help people with your millions and billions of dollars, you don't need to buy bags of corn or rice. All you need to do is build roads, because most countries have the food to feed themselves, and it's either out of reach because the roads are impassable, or there are no roads, or there's it's a banana republic. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
that's right.
The country's been turned into a place where free trade zones and sanctions or trade deals, unevenly weighted trade deals, have created food vacuums where, you know, you live in Jamaica and you can't afford a pineapple, or
Right.
you know,
Yeah, it reminds me of Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso, which is in Western Africa. When he created his own socialist government there in Burkina Faso, he said, you know, we don't need the charity, we don't need like foodstuffs from the United States. We need seeds, we need farming equipment, we need the property rights to our own land without the colonizers coming in and, you know, trying to scrape off a percentage of the profit. You know,
right.
y'all can go to, you know, take that somewhere else, and you know, just give us the equipment, give us the tools, the means of production, as it were. But instead, you know, it's here in Afghanistan, we see that instead of giving people the means of production, we give them war, we give them military outfits. You know, like, you know, it's such an interesting contrast to see these people. You know, they're here, they're celebrating their own culture within this colonial system, and it's just an outrageous contrast here. You know, it breaks my heart to think about it, to see it. You know, here you can see a British soldier teaching unexploded teaching how to like dig up mines. You know, how to deal with unexploded ordnance. That's the real reality, the material conditions. That's what we've shown in Afghanistan, is that every day, no matter where you are across Afghanistan, you probably should have some concern for unexploded ordnance in your country.
We have done that, brother, in Vieques. We have done that in Puerto Rico. You know,
Yeah.
Vieques. We have done that in Okinawa, on just training bases, just places where just U.S. soldiers and Marines train. We have left unexploded ordnance.
Even here in the United States. Yeah, at our own military bases at Fort Meade, Maryland, I remember when I was stationed there, we had to worry about unexploded ordnance from the infantry there. So, you know, the war machine keeps ticking. I've been talking for a long time. It's 5:47. So go ahead and show some more photos real quick, a few more minutes. This is an interesting photo. This was one of the most harrowing days of my life. This is a day I almost got blown up by a rocket, and technically I was within the kill radius of that rocket. I think I was within 20 feet. The rocket hit the other side of a dirt berm, and most of the explosion went the other way. And it was absolute bedlam. This event is the opening of a police station in, I believe, Ghazni province, which was about a half an hour long helicopter ride southwest from Kabul. So they were opening this police station. They were trying to do it for months, but they were afraid that that insurgents, the Taliban, knew about it, so it kept getting pushed back and back. And you know, it was obvious that they knew that as soon as all these people showed up at the base, that it was time to attack. And we all knew we were kind of walking into a trap that day. And it happened, and there were several rocket attacks, and it almost took my life. And we escaped in a very harrowing helicopter ride in between landing rockets exploding only hundreds of feet away from our helicopter that day. So that was one of the worst days of my life, and that day sticks with me. I have a lot more photos, but they're not here on my website.
This was powerful, brother. Thank you for sharing with us.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and minimize it.
And the contrast, like you said, the contrast is startling. It's shocking. You know, it's shocking. It's not even combat pictures, and it's
Let's see. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now.
very telling.
There we go. We're back. I'm nice and relaxed. Look, my knees up. I got shorts on. Looking like I ain't got no pants on. All right.
God. Let's not have one of those videos. No inappropriate behavior on the channel.
Unbelievable.
I think, you know, so people say, what about the Constitution, and what about unity, and what about unifying people, and where's the love at? And I believe, I know that what we're doing right here is the love. Like, this is the love, this is the unification, this is the work that is necessary. Ignoring what's happening, ignoring the hateful rhetoric, the divisive rhetoric of our current president is not the way to bring people together. You know, you have to address it honestly. You have to see how it affects other people honestly. You know, what if it was Obama? What if it was a black president, a mostly black police force in the country, and he didn't care about young white kids being shot? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about if you can, and it's hard, it's easy to say, right? Try to put the shoe on your foot.
I think as far as identity politics go, you know, we had a black president, and a lot of people loved him and thought he was a great president. But at the end of the day, he did these outrageous military surges. He didn't close Guantanamo Bay. You know, he tortured some folks, in his own words, in quotations. We tortured some folks. You know, he sowed chaos across South America. You know, helped to overthrow the Venezuelan government, and created the conditions for Trump to be elected.
Yeah, I'm not bringing him up to say that, you know, it was better or worse, or one president is better than another. I agree with you. They're all representatives of the empire. Mm-hmm. I brought it up to say, for people who say that this show is divisive, or shows like this are divisive, that is not giving a fair and accurate take on what we're doing, right? To address somebody's divisive statements is not to be divisive oneself.
Yeah, that's right. What I'm trying to do here is ultimately an expression of love, and let people know that, you know, I was militarized and I was traumatized by the military, and I don't want that to happen to anybody else ever again. I want it to end, and so I may say some things that people disagree with, but I mean, that's I'm almost 40 years old, and these are my life experiences, and they match perfectly in line with the political theory that I've studied since leaving the military. And revolution is an expression of love. Absolutely, that we want to preserve the human race. We're facing extinction. The humanity is absolutely facing extinction at this point. We're within 5-10 years of absolute climate catastrophe and chaos, and we need to start preparing now. You know, whether it's Biden or Trump that gets elected, the winter is coming. And we need to get ready.
Yeah. We are already in, like, is that a Winter Soldier reference?
It's a Game of Thrones reference.
Okay. I mean, we are already like the beginnings of cataclysmic climate change, like unequivocal death. You know, when storms come, we are already there. Like, every storm nowadays is a superstorm, and that is certainly overwhelmingly scientists are on the side that is man-made, that is human caused.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are experiencing, a lot of Americans that are experiencing that firsthand with the fires on the West Coast. And a lot of people are trying to make sense of it. You know, how do we continue to exist in this world the way it is? What can we actually do? I mean, if you think voting, man, I don't mean to be harping on voting. It's fine. Go out, vote. I don't want to vote shame. Vote for whoever you think is right.
All the things. Do all the things that can help.
Yeah.
Don't pick and choose which struggle is right for you. You see what I'm saying? That's the thing. That's what's kept us apart for so long. We got tree huggers. I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying? We got earth lovers. We got people who love to dig their fingers in the dirt, who love to literally like climb trees and sleep next to trees. And you know what I'm saying? Like tree huggers, people who love the earth, stewards of the earth, who won't get involved with the Black Lives Matter movement, who can't see how the two intersect. You know, you got people in the Black Lives Matter movement who won't get involved with LGBTQ rights, you know, and the struggle for equality. And like, if you can't see that all these things are suffering because of patriarchy, you know, and that patriarchy is where war is coming from, like the out of the yin and the yang, you know what I'm saying? The male, the dominant aspect is what's creating war on our planet, you know? Not saying that all men are bad and all women are good. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that like this warring, this anger mentality, this fear mentality is creating, is the cause of our planet's suffering. So if we had a love mentality, if we had a unifying mentality, you know, a compassionate way of dealing with problems rather than an authoritarian way of dealing with problems, we could solve our problems. You know, just pushing people into prison cells and pushing people out of cities is not solving problems. You're just pushing the problem. You're just like you're concentrating it into one area, you know, and creating training grounds for more problems later on.
Yeah, we live in an absolutely kind of blue-pilled world as it is in the Matrix. That it's a very one-sided very one-sided framework. And you're right when you bring up the yin and yang. We live in a unity of opposites, as it were. And I think it's important to understand that, understand the dialectical, which is an interesting vocabulary word, that there is a unity of opposites, that all things are interconnected, they all influence each other, that you must understand this and become a political person. There isn't room for, everything is political. There isn't an apolitical world that you can participate in where all you're experiencing is, you know, like trying to maintain the status quo and watch advertisements on TV. And you know, we're so thoroughly brainwashed in this country. We have to smash it apart. And you know, I'm kind of getting off. I was driving down the street the other day in a very poor community. I live in a poor neighborhood, you know, and I see American flags out there, and I see the 13 stripes, you know, referring to colonialism.
Yeah.
And it just made me, I mean, I've thought this a million times, but it really struck me as extremely relevant, where like everybody just assumes that colonialism is fine, that white people, white Europeans, Euro-Americans, they show up and they annihilate the indigenous population, and that's fine. And we worship that. We fly that on our front porches every day of our lives and take it completely for granted. It's just an outrageous blue-pilled world that we live in.
You're talking about blue pills and blue-pilled world, and we're almost right at 5 o'clock, and we haven't done music in a few weeks because of the sharing process and all the music restrictions and stuff. I'm gonna share some of my own music right now. I'm gonna do a song called Blue. All
right, we're gonna highlight you.
And this is for the blue chakra. This is the throat chakra. This is the ability to speak clearly and honestly, and see through, you know, make it clear for other people to get. All right. So this is how we're gonna end it. I'm just gonna do this like this, and you're gonna hear this music coming out. All right. So Mike, just tell me if it sounds good and if you can hear it. All right.
You're good, brother.
All right.
Ain't got no coffee that's perking.
Can you hear that, bro?
That's good.
Word.
Ain't got no winnings to
My Power. This is my man Corey Alexi produced. So let's see if I can get it. Let's see. Check. Words matter when it's all called in here and now. You plead the fifth or open up to reach the crowd. Sound travels through all matter. We break it down. Speak truth to life. Blue lives matter when Crips around. We clear now, create content and keep it clever. Black lives matter has been the truth forever, ever. Cold summer 2020, wonder, remember. Put back together our future, or now is never. Defund the police, work for justice, play for peace. The boys in blue are higher thugs for blue blood elites. Freedom of speech and off these blueprints that were spoken. Nothing's out of reach, stereotypes must be broken. Closing the race gaps, progressive blue waves. Closing the wage gaps, chasing the blues away. Stepping through this blue haze, conduction while I play with blue notes and high hopes for Snoop Dogg and Blueface. Yacht, yacht. Cause that's closing the generation gap. You know, that's why we communicate through raps. Always peaceful. RBG. Call me the necromancer. Find me in dancer's pose. Working in the ether with purity I compose. From old slave roads and breath holds and mangroves. Man hunts in the air with their ancestors in the flow. COINTELPRO been exposed. They still haunt us in the street. It's in the air. The plot is old. I just breathe it to a beat. Indiscreetly with full throat control of my power. For oration, raise the nation with control of my power. My power, my power, my power, my power. That number 5, you know, that throat chakra. Keep you alive. Speak truth to life. Say, I can breathe. I can breathe. I can. My power, my power. My power.
I ain't got nothing but the blues.
So the blues is an evolution of the griot tradition, and we carry it into today. It's carried through many other art forms, many others that I'm not trying to forget, you know what I'm saying, or minimize, right? We got jazz and gospel, you know what I'm talking about. But we got to speak truth to life, y'all. Everywhere we go, everywhere you are, speak truth to life. Do it at your supermarket, do it at home, do it on base. Speak truth to life to your fellow Marines, your fellow soldiers, your seamen, your airmen, and your fellow sailors. All right, let's break this imperial system. Let's leave, man. I'm calling for a mass exodus from the military and the United States police force. If the president wants to lie on you and say that every sheriff in the country and every police department is supporting him, show him that he's wrong by walking out. You know what I'm saying? Show the people that you support the people by standing with the people. All right? Yo, peace and power, peace and light. We will see you next week. Peace and love. Yacht, yacht.